Isn't it funny how like everyone has like one of those different words that we just for whatever reason we forget how to spell or like how it sounds or something?
Like I can spell guardian, I can spell necessary, I can spell all of those words. Like the really hard ones that everybody messes up.
Yeah.
But then like candles. Is it EL or LE? Like it's always those, and that's the only like letter switch that trips me up.
Yeah.
It's like I know all the I before E except after C unless it's weird or.
And I hate it because like it's like in the moments that you least want that to happen where you're like, I should know how to spell this and people should know how to spell this. And for right now, I look dumb for not knowing how to spell this. And it's always in the worst moments. It's never like when you're at home or whatever, when you're trying to Google something.
It's always when you're in front of people.
Right.
Speaking of which, I still have that poetry class I need to teach on Monday.
Come on.
That'll be fun, right?
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
All right.
This is the Always More podcast.
Hello and hello. It is April 20th, and welcome to the... nice. Welcome to the Always More podcast, where we believe there's always more room at the table for honest questions, meaningful conversations, and deeper understanding. Today on the pod, we are talking about scented candles, comedian history, sticky car wreck, immortal serial killers, and an interview with the one and only Carlos Hernandez. But first, I am your host, Tim Lichty, and sitting across from me is my best friend in the whole entire world, Christopher.
And it's just me. There's no one else here today. I'm kind of bummed about it.
I know. We love Harley. She needed a break, and so that is perfectly 1,000% okay.
999% okay. It's not 1,000% okay.
We're going to do our best to be as entertaining as Harley. That's
Harley. That's going to be the challenge.
That is the struggle here.
I was actually talking to my wife, and she is so glad we added Harley because she actually hates this podcast without Harley. She told me that. In her own words, she said, "This podcast is truly terrible without Harley, and you guys should never record without her again."
That's where the 1-star review came from.
She fixed it when Harley started, but...
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. She never said that. But she does like Harley on the podcast.
Yes, as we all do. Man, we love Harley, and we'll see her again probably the next episode. But we still have a great show. We have a fantastic interview with Carlos coming up in a few...
Really pumped about that.
Yes, it's going to be really good. And we just have a great show. So we're ready to dive in. Chris, are you ready to dive in?
I guess I am.
All right, well, let's start off with our Rec and Rev. And this is a part of the show where we kind of give you some recommendations and reviews of things that we've liked and
Before we do that, though, I just want to say I was reading the notes, like what you typed in, and it says, "I'm your host, Harley Bianco," because she was supposed to be here.
Yes.
And it made me sad all over again.
Yes.
I'll fix that.
Okay. Okay, so I'm starting off today with my Rec and Rev, and mine is a podcast by the name of... Actually, Chris, I think you'll really like this one because...
You're probably right.
You like listening to comedians.
I do. It's one of my favorite things.
Right. And you like history. Like, you're not like in love with it, but you like history.
I do like history.
This is a podcast called The Dollop with Dave Anthony and Gareth Reynolds. Have you heard of any of those dudes?
I have not.
And so these are comedians, Dave and Gareth. They pick a subject from history and examine it. Now, if you don't like history, that's fine. You do you. That's your right.
You're wrong, but go on.
But these guys, I mean, they're comedians, and they pick random subjects. Like, I decided to start with, they talked about Benedict Arnold.
Okay.
And it's just, they dissect his life. They talk about everything from the beginning to his treacherous, moment where he betrays the United States. By the way, if you know the story of Benedict, right? If you know his story, you kind of understand why he did it. Like, yeah, it still sucks that he was a traitor, but he was treated really bad by the U.S. government at the time.
Yeah, I remember reading some stories about it, and like, I would probably have defected too, truthfully. Like, as a kid, you're like, oh, Benedict Arnold is the worst. I would never betray my country. But then you figure out, like, all the stuff they did to him specifically and all the stuff that they were going to do to the people that he disagreed with.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you know what? Maybe we need to find another way.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, this podcast is really entertaining. They have a lot of improv with it, of course, and they have like a lot of like rabbit trails, but is
it anything like Drunk History?
Kind of.
Because that's like one of my favorite shows on Hulu.
Yeah, kind of like that. It's a little bit different. I guess just less drunk. Actually, I don't know. They could be.
It might be. It might not be. Who knows?
We just don't tell you. But yeah, so it's a lot of fun. Highly recommend it if you like to listen to history, or even if you don't, but you want to try to get into it. This is a great way to find yourself, because there's a lot of history podcasts out there, but some of them are just a lot of just dry. And so
Right.
This one is definitely entertaining.
I will probably check that out today as I'm driving around then.
You should.
I will.
Start with the Benedict one. Let me know.
Don't tell me what to do.
Okay. Chris, what you got?
All right, so mine is actually weirdly enough that we're not doing shows and movies right now because of all the stuff that's come out. Like I could review Moon Knight.
But we had a whole episode.
Yeah,
for that.
we did a whole thing on that, so we're not going to do that. Mine is a little show that I discovered. Tim, I don't know if you've actually seen it or not, called Ted Lasso. This show, I'm just kidding.
You're a jerk. You're such a jerk.
I still haven't watched it. I'm sorry. I'll get to it eventually. No, mine is a book that I just started called Scythe by Neil Schusterman. So this book is like a young adult sci-fi thing. It's in the same vein of storytelling as Hunger Games and Divergent and all of those.
Do they already have a movie slated?
I haven't even checked, but probably.
Or an Amazon Prime show. That's usually.
It's one or the other. If you know what, actually, let me see. Is there? Let's see. I'll look it up right now. While I'm looking that up, though, this book is basically like in the future. It's a not really dystopian future. It's kind of a utopia.
Yeah. Okay.
So all medical reasons for death, natural causes, all of that stuff have been eliminated. Everybody basically is effectually immortal.
Okay.
Which is really cool. But as you can imagine, there are some problems with overpopulation, and that always becomes the issue.
Wait a second. Don't we have a movie about this?
Logan's Run was very similar to that, yeah, but...
No, what's the one with Jared Leto? What is that movie?
Mr. Nobody.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
It's kind of in the same vein, yeah.
Okay.
But Scythe is an upcoming movie adaptation.
There it is.
Yep. Uh-huh.
I knew it.
Yeah, so they're definitely making a movie. Anyway, so it is basically the story of these two kids, essentially, Citra and Rowan, who are chosen to be apprenticed to a scythe.
Okay.
Now, a scythe is the government's Grim Reaper, basically.
Okay.
So since overpopulation is still a thing, they have to get rid of people somehow. So the government uses this AI to figure out who's going to die and when, and then they send these people out to go do that. The scythes are basically given like carte blanche. They can do whatever they want. They can kill people however they want. Some of them are like mass murderers and they'll go do like a shooting at the mall. Some of them are like individual. They'll go shoot somebody in the head. Some of them use knives. Some of them kill with their bare hands.
Should you be reading this book right now?
They can do whatever they want. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's actually really cool. It doesn't focus too much on that.
Oh, okay.
So far, I'm only like 2 chapters in. But so far, it doesn't focus too much on that. But basically, the scythes are like the heroes, the gods of this society.
Yeah.
They're looked up to and feared at the same time. And they pick these 2 kids to be their apprentices. They're teaching them how to be scythes as well. And like the first thing that they say is like, oh, I don't want this. And they're like, well, that's rule number 1. You don't want it. We don't want people that want to do this.
Right.
We want people that don't want to do this. So I'm really excited to see where the story goes. So far, it's pretty good. Got a lot of really cool word choices. It's won a few awards, the National Book Award. The author, like I said, Neil Schusterman, has been doing a lot of really cool stuff.
Why does that name sound familiar?
He's probably done some other stuff that you've read, or it's just that that's a really common name.
Yeah.
Neil and then Schusterman, I guess. Let me see if he's done anything else you might have read.
Anything?
Neil Schusterman, he's a New York Times bestselling author. Let's see his books. He's done a lot of books for kids, teens, and adults. Unwind, Unbound.
Oh, yeah. I think Jessica likes those books.
Ansi Bonanno, Star Shards, Skin Jacket. That sounds weird.
Ooh.
Dark Fusion, Shadow Club.
Those first few sounded very familiar.
Jess has probably read these. I doubt you have. They're not really your cup of tea.
I haven't read fiction in forever. I think the last thing I read fictional is Lord of the Rings, to be honest.
Well, I read that like once a year, so it's probably the last thing I read fictional too before this. But so far, it's pretty cool.
Okay.
I'm going to check it out. I'll let you guys know how I like it, and we'll go from there.
Sweet. All right, well, that was our Rec and Rev, and we are moving right along to talk about Chris's... Wait, is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, I missed it.
You got a button for it, buddy.
I have a button for it. It is time for Chris's Shower Thoughts.
So why do we think that all animals can talk to each other? Like in movies and stories and all that stuff. Like, people don't understand animals half the time, but all the animals can communicate with each other, regardless of their species. Like, humans, when we talk, we don't all speak the same language, so we can barely all communicate with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we just assume that animals can? Like, all of their noises are different.
Is that a mass assumption?
Yeah. Watch Lion King, dude.
Well-
The meerkats, the warthogs, the zebras, everybody can talk. They're all singing the same songs. They all know what's going on.
Oh, so
but,
you're talking about from species to species.
Yeah, like, why would a lion be able to communicate with
yeah.
a meerkat?
Yeah, I don't think... It's kind of like how plants can communicate. They communicate, but not in the way that we can comprehend. I think, too, that I think animals can kind of, in a way, communicate. Because you've seen, like... I mean, you have a cat and a dog, and you've seen how they kind of interact with one another.
Yeah, but they don't talk to each other.
No. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's a different form of communication. Like, they don't talk, use words. There's no animal in the world that does that other than us, and in sort of
that
a way.
we know of. But like wolves and foxes, they'll like howl and other wolves understand what they're saying. That's how they communicate. That's how they hunt in groups.
Right, but it's not
So
complex.
they're talking to each other. Not that we know. But they're talking to each other for sure.
I could see.
But why do we assume that a wolf and an owl can talk to each other? Like,
oh yeah. No, I don't see that being. I mean, other than like basic forms of like you're getting too close, like let me snarl at you kind of thing.
yeah, like
Right, but yeah, anything complex. I mean, even animals of the same species can hardly do that. So I don't see that.
So why is that such a big trope in like movies and stuff? I mean, I'm sure it's probably just for the ease of storytelling,
Right.
but why not make it more realistic?
Yeah, I don't know, because it won't sell. I don't know.
It would if we did it from the beginning of time. That's all I'm saying. Animals don't
true.
all talk to each other.
It makes you think too. Like, what if?
Or if they do, they just don't like humans. We're excluded from the club.
Wow.
Because we got all uppity, and they're like, "Oh, y'all want to start building buildings and
You and your complex
flying
language.
planes? Nah, screw you guys. You're out."
I wonder too if I bet you there's got to be a scientific study, because like I will grant you this, like whales and dolphins can communicate with one another. It's not complex sentences, but they can like communicate with one another. So I wonder if there's like different dialects, like even within species.
Like a South Bronx whale talking to a whale from California.
Right.
Hey, yo.
watch out for that boat over there. It's going really fast. It almost hit my buddy over here in the tail.
What you want to tell the orcas right now? What's up, baby? Take me out to dinner. Hey, yo.
Oh man! Like you imagine, like West Coast dolphins are different than East Coast dolphins, and
Throwing up gang signs with their flippers.
Oh man, our brains are weird.
Oh, man. All I know is that if the dolphins and whales can communicate, they better be doing it for a porpoise.
Oh,
For
very
a porpoise. Get it?
I know, I get it. No, I
Like
get
the animal. Not the word purpose, but porpoise.
There's an animal called a porpoise.
I'll fight you right now.
All right, good shower thought, Chris. Very, very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very intellectual and deep. It is time to.
As deep as it gets, anyway.
It is
About as deep as my shower.
What does that even mean?
It's very shallow. Never heard that term, shallow as a shower?
No.
All right, you need to listen to more music.
Okay. Let's move along to one of our favorite segments, and that is...
What did I miss?
Yes. All right.
Yes.
This is the part of the show where we like to present to you some news that you probably didn't hear about. All right. Chris, how do you feel about eels?
Don't like them.
Don't like them at all?
Nope.
You ever like been to a petting zoo or an aquarium and try to touch eels or
I
anything?
have. I punched an eel once.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay, short story. Give it to me.
I went to an aquarium and I punched an eel. That's the whole story.
Just because, or like?
Yeah. How many people do you know can say I've punched an eel? I've also punched a shark. I've punched a manatee. I've punched a dolphin.
Like the manatee on, or not the manatee. Wait, when have you've never been in contact with manatee? You were making that up.
No, I've punched a manatee.
When? Where?
At an aquarium in Florida.
I don't believe it.
You don't have to believe me. It happened. There's a lot of animals I've punched. I've punched a lion. I've punched a tiger. I've punched a bear. I've punched a lot of animals.
All right. Well, okay. Have you ever punched a slimy eel?
I have not.
All right. Well,
I mean, not that I know of. I don't know what kind of eel it was. I just punched it.
okay, so last month, a large truck carrying thousands of hagfish, also known as slime eels,
Gross.
was caught in a dramatic accident which left the truck, the car, and the entire section of the road covered in a mucus-like slime from said hagfish.
Double gross.
You see the pictures?
I did, and I'm not looking at them again. You put them in the notes like I was supposed to enjoy them, and I'm not going to. That's disgusting.
I would have put this in our story in our show notes, guys. You have to check this out. So according to National Geographic, this slime is no Nickelodeon slime, but rather a self-defense mucus quickly released by these deep-sea scavengers when felt under threat.
You know what it looks like.
I know exactly what it looks like, but we're not going there, Chris. Douglas Fudge, by the way, what a name.
Doug Fudge, attorney at law. Biomaterial researcher.
You ever just wonder, like, what are parents thinking? Like it's not a bad name, but you could have done something a little bit better.
I think my favorite name that I thought about this morning, just out of the blue, we went to middle school with this guy named Sean Hahn.
Oh, yeah.
I just love that name.
Okay, so Doug. Sorry, this is nothing against you or your profession. Douglas Fudge, a biomaterials researcher at Chapman University in California, said, "quote The slime sets up very quickly and is incredibly good at sticking to and clogging gills. So fish typically abort their attacks on hagfishes because they can't deal with the slime." End quote. Makes a lot of sense. This hagfish gets under attack, excretes this slime that gets stuck in the gills, and effectively, it could kill the fish.
So is that something like grown-up fish tell little fish, like, hey, if you see a hagfish and it puts slime out, you'll die?
Right, yeah.
Leave.
I mean, yeah.
Or is it just like a natural thing, like they're like, oh, I got to avoid this stuff, and they just swim away?
I don't know. I would imagine
They probably talk about it in their own languages.
Right.
Not to the hagfish.
Okay, so again, this isn't the slime you'd imagine from the Nickelodeon Award Show. In order to get this slime taken off of the road, it took a small bulldozer. A bulldozer to remove it from the middle of the road. Unfortunately, most of the fish died in the accident.
Oh.
But guys, you need to look at these pictures. It looks like it looks like Stranger Things, but in real life. Like this slime, and apparently it's really sticky, and it just looks horrible and nasty.
It does not look like Stranger Things. It looks like the porno ripoff of Stranger Things. That's all I'm saying.
It's nasty and gross, and yet interesting, because it's like this nature made this.
Yet curious.
Yeah, so no positive news this week, but very interesting to say the least. Chris, you're next.
All right. So mine is a lot less gross, but also gross in a different way.
I agree.
So a receipt for invisible artwork auctioned off this week for nearly $1.2 million.
Do tell, please.
Sotheby's, which is a auction company, said the receipt, part of Klein's imaginary art series, Zones of Immaterial Pictorial Sensibility, had been expected to fetch about $551,000, but it surpassed expectations by fetching a total of $1,151,467.40.
Why are we here in time and history where we are purchasing receipts for non-existent things?
This is basically an NFT, bro. A $1.2 million NFT. That's exactly what happened. An old NFT, like one of the first NFTs. But the guy didn't even make the art.
Right.
He was selling receipts for art he conceptualized, which means he thought about this and was like, hey, wouldn't this be a cool piece of art? I'll let you buy the idea for $1.2 million. And people were like, yes, I've got to have it.
For $1 million.
Yeah. So the weird thing is the receipt was dated December 7th, 1959, which is a few years before the artist died in 63. The auction house said that receipts are rare today because Klein invited buyers to participate in a ritual that involved burning the receipt and throwing half of the gold into the Seine River.
Wow.
In order to make the buyer the definitive owner of the conceptual artwork. So they bought this thing, and he gave them a receipt, and then he said, all right, now burn your receipt and throw half of the money that you guys are paying into the river. And they did it.
Yeah.
What?
I don't. Maybe someone out there, if you know more detail as to why this might make sense, then let us know.
It doesn't make sense. There's no one out there that knows because it doesn't make sense. There's no way it can. The receipt originally issued to antiques dealer Jacques Kugel was one of the 100 items being auctioned by Sotheby's on behalf of art advisor and former gallery owner Loic Mallet. I don't know how to say that. Sotheby's said Klein's conceptual artwork predicted the rise of cryptocurrency and the exchange of NFTs. See?
There you go.
They said the same thing.
Yeah.
These are NFTs, basically. Some have likened the transfer of a zone of sensitivity and the invention of receipts as an ancestor of the NFT, which itself allows the exchange of immaterial works. If we add that Klein kept a register of the successive owners of the zones, it's easy to find here another revolutionary concept, the blockchain.
Wow.
I don't know if you're familiar with NFTs, but it's basically a way that people can spend money on things that don't exist and say that they own them.
Yes.
And there's a blockchain out there somewhere, which is just a digital record of who bought it at what time.
Right.
And for how much. That's exactly what this was back in 1959.
Yeah.
So even NFTs are not a new thing.
Are we just getting old? Like you ever wonder that? Like, are we? I don't want to get into the same trap as internet. That's gonna fade away. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I want to say no, but this stuff just boggles my mind, and I don't know if it's because I'm old or if it's because it's genuinely stupid.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll really know in like 5 to 10 years, but I mean, at the rate of how technology is expanding.
I thought the same thing about Bitcoin, and cryptocurrency is here to stay, so who knows?
Right.
Who knows? I should have bought Bitcoin when I had the chance.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't have any money, so that was the other thing.
Well, yeah.
But, yeah, so there you go. That's my...
Yay, society and
that's
capitalism.
my what did I miss?
And people.
So from slime eels to 80-year-old NFTs. There you go.
There you go. Oh, man. All right, guys, we have a fantastic interview just right around the corner, so don't go away. We'll be right back. All right, everybody. Welcome back from the break. We are here today with a dear friend of mine that I've known for quite a while. It's been many years, I would say. And Mr. Hernandez is what is your official job title? Because I feel like I used to know it, and I feel like it might have changed recently.
It has changed multiple times, and it will probably still continue to change from week to week at any given moment. Right now, my title, if you call it, is just associate pastor.
Okay, awesome.
Over whatever's needed.
See, I thought that had happened. I just wanted to double clarify. So he is associate pastor at Grace Christian Center here in Killeen, Texas, and Carlos is one of the most coolest guys I genuinely know, and and I was telling Chris, because we have this when we started the podcast, we started creating a list of people that we want to interview, whether it's for intellectual reasons or just for specific, topics or whatever. And one of the first people on my list was you, because I've always enjoyed, when I worked at Grace, going down to your office and just having fun or talking seriously or joking about graphics or joking about movies and whatever it was. I've always I've always left your office in a better place.
Wow.
And so that's why you're here, Mr. Hernandez.
Wow. I feel honored. My gosh. Okay.
How you do it today, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm in a good place, mentally, spiritually, and overall, I'm good.
Awesome. Well, if you don't mind, for those who maybe don't know who you are, would you mind kind of just giving us a little detail about who you are, who you know, and what you do?
I can do that. Well, I was a military brat growing up. My father was in the military. We didn't move a whole lot, just moved a couple times. But we were here in the Fort Hood, Killeen area at one time. And then when my father retired out of the military, we ended up coming back here. We lived in Maryland for a little while, but we ended up coming back here and stayed in this area, in the Killeen Fort Hood area. And that's where I've been. That's where I met my wife, Toby, and our wonderful daughter, Tierra, and we got a son named Carlos the second. Call him Lil Los. Not so little. He's taller than me now, but yeah, and that's what's up. And I've worked at a particular nonprofit church organization in the area called Grace Christian Center. I've worked there for 20 years. Wow. So pretty much most of my adult life thus far, since the age of 19. Wow. And serving in multiple capacities. And just, at the end of the day, I'm just an ordinary dude, I love to chill. I love to cook. I love to listen to music. I'm trying to work out more lately. For a minute there, my health was just kind of bad and just taking a dive. I said, I got to get this right. I got to keep the ticker ticking and my heart going. I got more to live for than just myself. So I really kind of upped my game as far as my health goes. Not just physically, but also my soul health too, making sure my soul is healthy, my emotions are right and balanced, because that's important, especially for a man. Yeah. Because that's something we tend to not do, is take care of our soul. And so I've been really intentional about that as well. But I mean, I don't know. I love hip hop music. I'm a hip hop head for life. But at the end of the day, I love all music. I really do. It's just hip hop is what helped raise me. You know what I'm saying, so to speak. Right. But I do love all music. And entertainment. I'm big on cinema and film and all that. So yeah.
Well, Carlos, since you brought it up, this was actually one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because one of the things that I've always overheard, and granted, I have very little experience in, is the music that you grew up listening to. Because what year did you graduate, if you don't mind me asking?
I graduated the year 2000.
And you went to Killeen High School?
I went to Killeen High School for most of my high school career. I went to Meade High School in Fort Meade, Maryland for about half a semester. Okay. That was a tough school. The side note, the year prior to me going there, when I was in 8th grade, we had to do, you do a little trip to the high school that you're going to, and then the counselors walk you through. But we had to delay that trip like a couple of weeks, because just prior to that, there was like a literal race riot.
Oh my gosh!
Between black kids and the white kids, and even the Latino kids in the high school. And then 2 weeks later, we're driving over, in the bus load, and hey, y'all, we're going to do a tour of the school. Now we're all shaking in our boots like, this is where we're going. And it ended up being a tough school. So, wow. But I only got through about halfway the year, and then we ended up coming back down to Killeen Fort Hood area. So I ended up at Killeen High School, which wasn't a whole lot better at that time. I ran into a bunch of gang members. But the thing was, I was cool with all of them, though. Whether it was Bloods, Crips, GD, Gangster Disciples. I mean, Latin Kings. They were all there back in them days in Killeen. But hey, it was a cool experience, man. But yeah, class of 2000.
What an adjective! A cool experience.
Cool. It was cool. Well, I survived it. Praise God.
Well, the reason why I'm going to ask is because I know you were you brought up music, and you brought up music during that time, and so Chris wanted to ask you, because he's been trying to get into music from the 90s a little bit more, and so he wanted to ask you something he always asks people that would know something or two about it, is Biggie or Tupac?
Ooh. See, I got Tupac on my shirt right now.
I see that.
That's hard, because I'm a fan of both. Okay. I've always enjoyed Tupac Shakur's music, and I don't know, because you're talking about two different type of artists, rap artists though. Tupac, when he initially came out, he was more of, and it was always at the core, a revolutionary. His mother was a Black Panther, and the the people that she ran with, they were all Black Panthers. And so he had that in him to be more of a revolutionary type of individual. And Notorious B.I.G. or Christopher Wallace, Biggie Smalls, he just grew up in Brooklyn, and was actually a good kid, a great kid. Fell in kind of with the wrong crowd, and that wrong crowd ended up being his crew, Junior Mafia, that he rode with. But it was always just a good dude. And he was just a lyricist to the core, and one of the greatest. So I don't know, in terms of lyrical wizardry, if I can use that term, I'd have to say, I'd have to say Notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace, Biggie Smalls.
All right.
In terms of passion and just the way he lived his life, which was just on the edge and off the chain, Tupac Shakur.
Yeah. Do you feel like because of your environment, because of the schools that you went to, do you feel like they were a big influence on you and maybe your friends, or was it more just something in the background?
No, I think they were a big influence, especially because in my middle school, spilling into my high school years, it was kind of middle school more so was at the height of the East Coast, West Coast beef and hip hop, historical beef, really perpetuated by the media.
Right.
But it boiled down to Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls in their camps, Death Row Records at that time, and Bad Boy, which was run by Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy's what they call him.
Yeah.
Now, and Biggie, and really it wasn't a whole legit beef. A lot of it stemmed from Tupac Shakur.
Yeah.
But I think it was the individuals that he was around that fed into him as far as fueling that whole West Coast. And at the end of the day, Tupac Shakur ain't even from the West Coast. He's not even from California. He's from New York, New Jersey area. He ended up moving out that way later on in life, but he's not, at the end of the day, he's East Coast too.
Was it something that they kind of sparked up the flame a little bit to keep that attention and keep that, or do you feel like there really was some real beef that they kind of, brought with each other?
I think a lot of that was just hyped up, especially by the Death Row crowd, Death Row Records on the West Coast, mainly probably from Suge Knight, who was the CEO of Death Row Records at that time. And not to say that Puffy didn't maybe feed into it some as well, but I think it was less on the part of Tupac and Biggie and more so on the camps that were behind them. Yeah. And the CEOs that were behind them that could have been kind of fueling that thing. And then you add the media to it, it hypes it up.
Right.
And then it's a moneymaker because it's news.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it resulted in the death of two of the most amazing, not even hip hop, but just artists in general of my generation. It was tragic. I cried when Tupac died, and I cried like a baby when Biggie died. And it was it touched me. It's like two of my cousins done passed away.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that real for me.
Even though, I was a kid in the 90s, so I don't remember any of that, but I do, years later, it felt like, it felt like something I always kind of had in the background. I think it was just so big of an event of just that whole rivalry and all of just the wave of that type of music. And I still to this day can't think of anything that matches that when it comes to music anyways. Not
really. There's never been a beef, never been that type of beef that rivals that yet. I hadn't, not that I can attest to. So
yeah.
R.I.P. Biggie Smalls, R.I.P. Tupac Shakur.
There you go. So here's a question then to kind of piggyback off of that. Yeah. If you could, theoretically, bring back any artist from the 90s, dead or alive, and kind of bring them back into today's pop culture, who would it be?
Wow. That's a tough one.
Who do you think would maybe thrive in today's culture? I guess that might be a better question.
Man. I would, and not even necessarily from the 90s, because his peak was really the 80s. But I would say Michael Jackson.
Oh,
the king of pop.
Really?
Who his reign bled into the 90s, but really, like I said, his peak was the 80s.
Right.
His career, spawned in the 70s, but in the 80s is really when he hit his peak, especially with Thriller, which is I believe still like one of the number one most selling albums of all time.
Right.
I think if Michael Jackson were to come back now, mind you, from a collaborative level and in collaboration with some of the artists from today, I think he would, he'd be He'd be
Who
running.
do you think he would collab with?
Oh,
Or do you think he
man.
would, gel with?
I'm trying to think. Who would he collab? I think he would collab good with individuals like Lady Gaga.
Ooh. Ooh, that's a good hot take there. I like that sound.
I'd love to hear Michael Jackson and Michael Bublé.
Wow.
Man, I think they would. I think it would kill it. It sounds odd,
I never thought of
but I think they would do something creative. I think Michael Jackson and Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Justin Bieber when he's in his right mind. You know, Lord bless him.
Well,
you know,
there's a stipulation there. Yeah.
yeah. If he can, I think that'd be dope too. Who else? Michael Jackson and Chris Brown.
Ooh.
Again, another individual. If he could just pick himself up and get his mind straight and be sober enough and to do it, I think him. Because for a minute there, they was calling Chris Brown, the next, possibly the next Michael Jackson,
Right.
Because the way he sang, his vocal tone, and the way he danced and everything was just so similar, and you could clearly see he derived his inspiration from him. So that would be a cool one.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, you had mentioned it earlier. I'm changing directions here a little bit. You mentioned earlier that you like movies, and that's something that you and I definitely have some common thread, and we've had many discussions about movies. And so I wanted to ask you, man, just generally, what are some of your favorite films as of late, like past few years, maybe something that you feel like maybe stands out, maybe other people haven't paid attention to?
Let me think, because I'm real discriminatory towards film and cinema and movies. I can't see. That's the thing. Something has to really hit me. I can't think of anything as of late, even over the past few years, that really struck me. I did like the Batman, the newest take on that with the Riddler and his name Pattinson. I thought that was really good, and it kind of really went back into the comic roots of it. The darker atmosphere, and then also the detective side of it. To really drawing that out. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
I thought that was real good. Man, I can't think of any other over the past. I can think of older movies and stuff.
Well, let me ask you this then. Maybe you give me some underrated directors or actors that you feel like people don't pay attention to. This can be from any time, but people just don't pay attention to.
I think one that to me is iconic, but and he's real discriminatory about the films that he makes, and he really hadn't made any recently, but that's Michael Mann. And one of his most iconic films is the movie Heat that came out in the 90s, in the mid-90s, and it starred Robert De Niro, was in Al Pacino. Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and it was a heist film is what it was, but it was real good, and it's still one of my favorite movies. And so he directed the show, was one of the producers that went to Miami Vice back in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
And I want to say he redirected the one that they remade in the early 2000s. But Michael Mann, he's always the way that he deserves some more opportunities, but he's another one that's real picky about it.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. He can do that. Another one that's not underrated by any means, but one director and producer that I enjoy is Martin Scorsese as well.
Yes.
It's all all of his iconic films, Goodfellas, Casino.
Right.
Came out with The Irishman.
Yeah.
About Frank Sheeran, and I've always been a fan of Scorsese.
Speaking of him, did you watch the movie Silence?
No, I didn't get to watch that one yet.
I'm gonna have to let you borrow it or something, because that one
I need to watch it.
Yeah, it is one of my. It's one of the films that hit me the hardest in the past 10 years.
Wow.
Not just because of the cinema, but just the story itself and the writing behind it. It really kind of pushes you as a believer, I think.
Wow.
And he doesn't push any agenda by any stretch of the means.
Yeah.
But just imagine his writing style, but also with a very compelling story that gets both religious and non-religious people to really think about faith in general.
Right.
And so, highly recommend that.
I need to watch that one. That's one that I've meant to watch and I haven't, so I need to watch it.
I might let you walk out with that. I got it on my board over there.
Hey, bet. That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, I like movies in general. I like, and when it comes to entertainment and even movies, I'm real open-minded. whatever is going to lend itself to the plot of the story or the tone of the movie, I'm down.
Yeah.
So if it's going to be an R-rated movie, let it be a hard R for
Right.
me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't mind the guns. I don't mind the violence. I don't mind the curse words.
As long as it's genuine.
As long as it's genuine,
Yeah.
Even if there's some nudity slipped in there. If it lends to the story, hey,
Yeah.
that's what's up, But at the heart, I'm an artist, an artiste.
Right.
So I get that.
Well, what would you say then is there a movie that pops into your brain that you think of as that kind of movie, the most, excuse my lack of better word here, but a more artistic film, something that really stands out above all the rest, something that it can be popular or not popular, but do you have a personal favorite that you just go back to, like that is the pinnacle of filmmaking?
I'd say for me, storyline and all, probably Goodfellas. Again, Martin Scorsese. Just the way he encapsulated, the life of Henry Hill, and just what it's like to grow up in that type of neighborhood, that type of Italian American neighborhood.
Yeah.
With those associations and the good, bad, ugly, all of that, and the way he does it, and he slips in action, tragedy, comedy, all that, and it's just the music in it, and that's an iconic film.
Right. Yeah, between that and Godfather and
Godfather, most definitely.
There's a third one, Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York is a good.
Those three have always kind of peaked. I mean, of course, they're gang and mafia related, but those three have always kind of, like, no matter what, you can sit down and you will get something out of it. So
I also like, as far as TV show wise, I do enjoy The Sopranos.
Oh, really?
I've rewatched that series. I don't know how many times. I was actually watching an episode this morning while I was working out. And with that one's cool, and just the surrealism behind it too, because there are elements of surrealism and plus comedy, and just the dichotomy between somebody who can go out, and do a hit on somebody, essentially kill someone, and then come home and make it in time for dinner, and tuck his kids into bed, and so just seeing that dynamic, so.
Were you? I'll be honest. I've never watched a single episode of Sopranos. However, I was. I read a lot enough to know that the last episode, the series finale, had a weird. It had mixed reactions.
It
What
did.
What was your reaction to it?
I love the ending.
Okay.
I love the way it ended, and I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but I know there were a lot of people that were throwing their pasta in there, and cussing at the TV. And spilling their wine on the floor when it ended the way it ended.
Yeah.
But I thought it was genius the way it ended, and it left you in your head, at the end of it to think, okay, what really did happen? These individuals with these characters at the end of the show, and it allows you to pick up the story internally.
Right.
And I thought David Chase was a genius for that.
Yeah, I was spoiled by it, so I know what happens. But it reminds me a lot of the series finale of Breaking Bad. Just the way it kind of leaves off. It's more of, it really just leaves in your head. I love that kind of creativity in a writer.
Me too.
Where they leave you with not a conclusion, but a continual discussion.
Yes.
And that's very important to me, because as much as I love a superhero film where it's got a great ending, where the good guys win,
Right.
I think that's why Infinity War is some people's favorite above Endgame, is because the ending of it was open. Who knows? These guys maybe they're gone forever. And
Exactly.
so it was very bold to leave it that way.
I love open endings.
Yeah.
But then again, too, I'm a real cognitive person, so I'm a thinker. So I like to be able to think. If it's not a plot line or something that I can chew on, or even an ending that allows me to think about what would happen afterward, sometimes I feel let down. If it's always wrapped up clean with a bow at the end of it, I'm like, oh, that was cute. Didn't leave me nothing to chew on. But I'm a thinker, so.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, let's move on. Speaking of chewing on, man, you're just setting up all my segues here.
Oh, am I?
I want to talk about cooking, man, because that is one of the other things that I've known from afar, that you just love cooking. So is that something that you've always kind of been into, or is that something that you've been recently just trying to get into? Because I see you mixing things, trying different things.
I've been trying.
I've always seen from afar. I'm always a little hungry watching your stuff. But yeah, how'd you get into it?
I've always enjoyed cooking. I used to, when I was a kid and into my teenage years, I would watch cooking, shows, which are actually kind of a rarity now. When you watch stuff like Food Network and stuff, mostly it's like food competitions and stuff now, which is really not my favorite. But I mean, I watched all type of cooking shows. I can't forget it. Remember his name of the Cajun chef that would come on back in the day, and then you had even way back Julia Childs and stuff like that. But early Food Network stuff, Emerald Lagasse and Ina Garten, and so I enjoyed watching it. I enjoy food, and so I would watch those shows, and I would just kind of replicate the things that they would make in the kitchen at it, and also I enjoyed cooking and eating, just being around my grandmother, on my mom's side. When we would visit them in Stephenville, Texas, I still got family up there, but we'd have get-togethers and stuff. So we'd have Christmas, so we'd spend Christmas here, but then we'd also go up there. We have Easter, celebrate here, but we also go up there.
Right.
And so there was always a lot of food involved, and so I just always grew up around food. And even on my father's side, when we would visit family back in Puerto Rico, there was always food involved. Lots of food, lots of drink, lots of dancing and partying. And I think innately what I saw is that food always brought people together, and having good food and good laughs, and having a good time was just all synonymous to me. And so, for me, when I'm cooking, I those same feelings kind of just well up inside me, of just having a good time, even if it's just me in the kitchen by myself. Of sharing, of family. I mean, it's an emotional experience for me,
right?
And even cathartic. It's therapeutic for me as well.
Yeah.
Because
are there any meals that you've tried to replicate from your past that you remember?
There were some that I did that were a success. There was a couple steak recipes that went well. There were a couple other recipes where I did find out from trying recipes and stuff from the past that I'm a horrible baker. I'm terrible at baking. I love baked goods. I don't eat them so much anymore. I've chosen more of a gluten-free diet now for dietary reasons. I don't digest it as well. But when I did eat a lot of baked goods, I enjoyed it. Anytime I tried my hand at baking, I would just suck at it. And I'm like, in the trash it goes. But I'm more of a cook. So there are a lot of things that I usually was pretty much able to replicate and do. Now when I cook, I don't use recipes at all. Now everything is by scent, by taste, by texture, by I'm very much a feel of what is this? What does this smell like? What does it feel like? What it tastes like? So I don't use recipes at all now. Everything's just, if it tastes good, I'm rolling with it.
All right.
This sounds like it might be a good combo. I try it. 9 times out of 10, it ends up tasting delicious. So
awesome.
I just have fun with it, man.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this final question then. Is there rather a meal or a type of food that you feel like a lot of people don't know about that you would recommend? Something. I remember my friend, one of my best friends, Janelle. She's a chef, and so I've always asked her, what she like to cook and what she like to eat, and I've been introduced to different foods because of her. And so, is there anything that you know of that you think like a lot of people don't know?
I've tried all type of different foods, but one that, and it would be an acquired taste for most, but it's actually pretty good. I've tried an octopus salad before, and octopus is cooked, of course.
Right. I guess it's not always that way.
You're right, depending on what country you're in.
Yeah.
But this one was good, and it's diced up, and a little bit on the chewy side, but I enjoyed it. So I think other people, if you're a good salad person, a good cold salad type person, it's kind of almost a pasta salad.
Yeah.
And but I think you'd enjoy it.
Yeah.
If I were to feed it to you and I tell you what it was,
right.
I'll tell you after the fact. You may hate me afterward when I tell you, but you'd enjoy it in the time.
Cool. All right. Well, I'll look forward to trying that.
Hey, yeah, okay.
All right. Well, what I love about what we've already talked about is there seems to be a similar theme underneath it all. And you're an artistic person. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that, Mr. Hernandez, but I feel like I think I can.
Not often, actually. Yeah.
Well, let me say it. I think you are, and I think between all the things that you love to do, but also the things that you have put out, including some of the work that you put in at Grace, whether it's your graphic design or your preaching or your cinematography, because I've seen you do some stuff behind the scenes too. Mm-hmm. How do you feel as a creative, as an artist, do you feel like it's a part of you? Do you feel like it's something that comes out easy to you? And do you find yourself often grabbing things, grabbing energy, grabbing, I guess vibes, I guess energy was the best word I can think of from these other things to create things? Because I've always seen, especially like with your graphic design, I've seen flavors of your other parts of your life come out in those things. And so how does that roll in your mind?
I get inspiration from everything. So anything that I may be working on, whether it's a dish that I'm preparing or cooking, or something I'm designing, or especially like a message, whether it be a sermon or some type of talk that I'm giving, I draw inspiration from everything. So I'm a very visual person. I love visual art. I love all forms of art, whether it be sculpture, whether it be painting, drawing, music, food, entertainment, and I just draw inspiration from everywhere. And I find for me, creativity, it kind of ebbs and flows like water. And so at some point, and I almost have to catch it and just kind of jump in the flow when it's there for me, because it's not always there. And what I've learned is not to force it. Is not to try to force creativity. Because when you do that, it just looks manufactured, or comes across, or tastes, or what it tastes just manufactured. Yeah. And I've learned sometimes you got to wait. And that's why it's so hard trying to explain to somebody how it is and what it is to be an artist. Because from the outside looking in, somebody who is not innately an artist, they can't understand it. It's like, what do you mean you've been working on this project for 10 years? and what you're like, because I got to catch the flow. Yeah. If I'm not in that mind frame, if I'm not in that energy, if the vibe just sitting there, I'm not going to force it. Because if I force it, it's going to be inauthentic. And so I've just learned to, whatever draws my eye, or whatever draws my ear, or whatever draws my taste buds, just to take that, hone in on that, and ask myself, how does this make me feel? And if I were to take this and to use this and funnel it into something, whether it be a message or a dish, or whatever it is, a poem, a song, something visual that I'm creating, how is this going to make the other person feel? Right. And will it make them feel the same way it's making me feel right now? And how can I translate how I feel from this inspiration into something, some medium that can invoke that same feeling in them? And I almost see it as a challenge. Yeah, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. One of the things that, one of the things I've always noticed too, excuse me, is obviously you have a strong faith in God, and you have a relationship with Him, and I have seen that also along with the God-given talent, but also your hard work through your art, it flow through all of your other avenues, all the things that you do. Yeah. So how do you I'm trying to word this in a way I can explain it in my head. Right. But have you always considered it that way, of a divine, a divine essence? Where do you feel like everything that you touch, everything that you do, because a lot of times, as we've discussed over the years, is there is a camp of people that believe that things like social media, things like graphic design aren't necessarily ministry, aren't necessarily, they're tools, but they're not actually reaching people. They're just a way to grab attention. And I think it might be a safe assume on your end that there's a different angle that I think we think about that. Yeah. Would you mind kind of expounding on that maybe?
Yes. I think that there is definitely a crucial place and a vital place for artistry within the realm of quote unquote ministry, if we want to put it that way. For me, art is a ministry. It is ministry. When I look at the way that the universe is, and the cosmos, and just nature, everything above ground, everything below water, everything, all the creatures, all the trees, all the sky, and that's art. Yeah. And if we could say that's the hand of God that has, whose hand is over all that, and who's breathed life into all of us, and just the intricacy of the human body and all that, that's art. And so for me, it's not, you can't separate the two, saying this is ministry, that's art, that's entertainment. That's, to me, everything points back to God. Yeah. good stuff, bad stuff, ugly stuff, the stuff we don't understand, triumph, tragedy, all that points back to God. God lives in our complexities.
Yeah.
You know, he's there, you know, and he's present everywhere and in everything. And so I definitely think there's a relevance to things like social media. And you said, you know, some people think, well, it's just to grab attention. Well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with grabbing somebody's attention with something visual, with the word, or with this, or with the song, or with the poem, or with the meme? You know? You can take a meme and grab somebody's attention and draw them in, and then drop a greater truth within that caption once they read that meme, and it's like, oh, okay. I just laughed, and now I'm pondering, you know, my existence. You know, you see, and so it's like, I don't know. Art for me is not always just for the sake of art. It can be intentional, and it can be purposeful, especially in terms of utilizing it as a ministry tool and pointing people to Christ,
right?
You know, and pointing people to faith and to a belief system in general.
Yeah. I think what speaks out to me is you have books in the Bible like Ecclesiastes and Job, where there is this deep tension, this deep pain, and even deep confusion. And you would think if that was something that was brought up today, if you got on a platform, you were to say, I don't know how I feel today. I don't know if God's real right now. You would think, this is not a good sermon, but yet we have that in our books of the Bible. And
right. So,
you know,
I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, go ahead.
We tend to run from that. We tend to run from the tension. So when there is tension, we want resolve. Kind of like we talked about earlier in you know, in terms of movies and entertainment. You know, when there's not an ending, whether it be happy or sad, if it's just open ended, we're like, hold on,
right?
No. There's tension there for a reason, and I think we need to learn how to process tension in life, in our lives, in the complexities of our lives, in the contradictions of our lives. How do we manage that tension and process it? Not run from it, but try to derive a greater truth from that tension. You know, for instance, and I heard a minister put it this way: we're talking about the prodigal son. You know, if anybody's familiar with that particular passage in that story, but the prodigal son, you know, he went away, did his own thing, spent all his father's money after gaining or demanding his inheritance, which his father granted him. Went out, did whatever, slept with prostitutes, blew it all, and ended up sleeping with pigs. Comes back home, and the father accepts him with open arms. Meanwhile, the son, his sibling, who stayed and remained faithful and has been faithful to his father and to his father's household that whole time, he's upset. He's upset that the other sibling, not necessarily that he's back, but that the father is throwing a big party for him. He's forgiven him, and you know, it's like he never went off and sinned, you know, quote unquote, and did his own thing.
Yeah,
it's like he never left the house. And so the other brother, he's mad about it. He's upset about it. You know, the father asked him, "Why are you mad?" Well, he said, "Listen, you never done this for me. I've been here the whole time, tended to things, tending to your affairs, never demanded an inheritance before time and all this." And then my brother comes back, and there's this big old party after he went and, you know, blew all the money and did all, what's the deal, you know? And father says, "Listen, you know, you here, you remain, but you know, you should be rejoicing because your brother who was once lost has come back. That's why we throwing the party. Why aren't you happy too?" And it's like, but I've been here, you know? And if you look at the text, the brother stays bitter. It didn't ever shows any resolve there.
Yeah.
And so it goes to show you, it's like, all right, in an attempt to regain one, you know, you may lose another.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of what happened in the text. And there was really no resolve or that was explained.
Yeah.
You know? And that other son may remain bitter for the rest of his life. We don't know.
Right.
Tension, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we run from. And so what I think we can express in the arts, in creativity, in social media, in all type of creative ways is tension, and not always have a resolve, have a clear answer, and show that God is in the middle of that tension, no matter what it looks like. He's in the middle of that contradiction in your life.
Man, that's another segue that you brought up in. One of the words that you used in referring to the sibling who was upset, you said that he was really directing the brother to have joy.
Yes.
To have, even in this moment
Yep.
where he could be jealous and envious and upset because maybe he felt like he wasn't treated correctly or wasn't he didn't feel like he had the right attention at the time or whatever it might mean. I wanted to ask you, because this is one of the reasons why I don't just love you as a friend, but I love you as a human being, because I've been here since 2004. And so, I mean, I've always had a close relationship with you, but I've always kind of known you from a distance.
Right.
And you've been through a lot of things. You've had a lot of you've had a lot of challenges, and it's not just to you, but to people that you care about.
Yes.
And so I wanted to ask you, because I feel like this is one of the main reasons why I want to talk to you, is because it almost seems like an art. It almost seems like something that ties in. This is why I wanted to ask you all those other things before, is because I feel like it all ties in. There's an art behind not just your work, not just behind the music, not just behind the movies, your work that you do at the church or the cooking that you do at home, but there seems to be this underlying artwork of joy in your life. How do you balance that? How do you obtain that even when things are upside down?
I hear exactly what you're saying. And it's funny because I've heard T.D. Jakes use this phrase before, and he even kind of crafted a message around it. And he was talking to leaders, and the title of that message was "The Art of Not Knowing." And I think for me, I can honestly say, and if I can use that same title as just really kind of a life statement, is I really have just learned the art of not knowing. And we talked about this earlier prior to us talking now, but
Circle.
Yeah, it's like I've learned that, even when I don't know what's happening to me, I don't understand. That's probably a better word. If I don't understand what's going on with me or people connected to me that I care about, if I can just trust that God knows and lean on that, that's really where that joy derives from. Because in any given situation, even when I'm just walking through hell, if I know that God's there with me, I don't have to know all the details. I don't even have to know the outcome. Yeah. As long as I know that He is there, He's watching over me, and He's making the path straight. Even if it feels like I'm walking on fire, like a fire walker, as long as He's making that path straight, and I know that He's there with me, He's there before me, He's a guard behind me and to the side of me, I know I'm okay, and I don't have to know. I can walk in. I'm trying to find a way to put it. Just I can walk in literal ignorance, to a degree, almost a willful ignorance, knowing that be honest, I don't even want to know all the answers. God, I just want you to show me the next step, this next step, and just guide me in this step, even if those steps lead me in a direction that I didn't see for myself. Yeah. Or if where you're leading me is not what I had in mind. As long as I know that you have the end in mind, I don't have to walk out and live out what I had in mind and what I desired for my life. And I've had to learn that. I hadn't always been that way. I used to get disappointed and depressed when things didn't turn out the way that I had in mind. But when I realized that my ideals, my ideal life, my ideal wife, my ideal career, my ideal just kind of creative flow and whatnot, when my ideals my reality didn't match up with my ideals, I would get upset. And I said, wait a minute, I've created an idol out of my ideals, my ideal situation. And so I need to cast down that idol, like the word says, and trust and lean on God and ask God, God, forget what I desire for my life. What do you desire for me and my family? And what have you called and created me to do? Not what I want to do. What do you need me to do? What is your desire for me? And when I do that, it always leads me back into a place of joy. Yeah. Not happiness, because happiness, of course, is just temporal and based upon feelings. And my feelings are up and down like a roller coaster all the time. I'm an emotional person. I guess that comes with that kind of artistic side. So if I always leaned on how I felt, I'd be a basket case. And so I can't. I have to lean on that joy, which is a constant and consistent knowing that God has got me even when I don't know what the heck is going on in my life at any given time.
Yeah, and that's, I'll kind of start closing out with this question and this thought, because and this is not to take away from your individuality, but there does seem to be rather a contagion in the most positive way, even with your family. I've noticed, because granted, I haven't met one of your brothers, but between your father and your mother and Emmanuel, it seems like every single time there was something going on. Yeah. Rough, hard, frustrating, confusing. Rather, you guys seemed like you had that joy, or you guys, you had the positivity, and you had that choice, as you just explained, to be okay with the unknown. Yeah. Is that something that you feel like kind of growing up with, that you had in your home, something that is shared amongst your family? Because I mean, I love your brother Emmanuel like crazy too, because he's always brought that into my life as well. It's just something that you two do, is just you bring that joy and that life in other people's lives. So do you feel like there's a common thread there?
I think so. I think for us, just growing up as a family unit, we, if nothing else, whether it was good times or bad times, or abundant times or lean times, I mean, we, at the end of the day, we always had our faith, and we had each other. We had family, and so we always knew that we could rely on our faith, in God vertically, in our family, our family innately, whether it was blood or friends or close friends. And so I think growing up, we always just leaned on those things where, at the end of the day, God got us, and then we got each other. And if we just come into agreement that God has our best interest in mind, and he's going to take care of us, even, like I said, even if the end plays out and it doesn't look like what we had in mind, and we especially had to walk that out with the death of my mother, when we saw, dealing with her having stage 4 colon cancer, and seeing her walk out that process of healing, which led to her eventual healing, and God healing her ultimately by, taking her home to be with him. It wasn't easy for her, but it really wasn't easy for us either. But we always knew that God, no matter what happens, no matter how it looks, we know that we can still be joyful. And all the way up until that, till she took her last breath, which I was sitting there when she did, and that other family members came around when I noticed her breathing. It was getting few and far between. Just looking at her body, cancer ridden, and just she really just bones at that point. When she took her last breath, we were all joyful, and any tears that were shed in that moment were tears of joy. And of course, there was some sadness there, but I mean, it was a special moment when she passed. And we just gathered around, prayed. I think we sang a song, and coroners came and declared that she had passed, and they came and retrieved her body, and we were left there to process that after her body left the home. And even in that time of processing, we were joyful. And that's when I knew, man, we're gonna be okay. And if we can get through that, we can get through anything. And so faith and family, and at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, man. It's like knowing that God's got you. He's got you. As long as you trust him, believe in him, and are willing to just take the next step, those next steps, not leaps, just the next step along your pathway, even if it's a hard one. Just know that God's guiding you, and he's got you, and know that you got people in your corner. Even if you don't have blood family around, there's somebody out there that you can lean on, that you can call on, who is family to you, that can help walk you along in that process, even in the midst of not knowing. God knows.
It's powerful. Powerful, my friend. I was going to, you answered so many questions that I was going to bring up. How do you, how would you translate this to other people? And I think you summed it up perfectly at the end. It's about your faith. It's about your family. It's about the lateral. It's about the people you got around you, and
roots and branches. Make sure you got a strong root system, and then make sure those branches as well. And then that tree will grow the way that it's supposed to. The tree being, metaphorically speaking, your life. Stay rooted in your faith, and you'll grow up strong, and and make sure those branches, those people that you're connected to, that you stay connected with them in your life, and you'll be okay. You can withstand the storm.
Yeah.
like an oak tree. You know what I'm saying? And stick around for many years and do what you've been called to do and created to do. Praise God.
Well, sir, I think that's a great place to end this conversation. Again, I genuinely 1,000% love our conversations, whether it's on the mic or off. And so I want to thank you again for just taking the time to come out and talk with me and talk to our friends. Is there any place that people can reach you on social media, email, MySpace, whatever?
They can hit. I mean, they can hit me up on. They can hit me up on IG. It's at Carlito Carlito 254. So at Carlito 254. You can follow me on IG. You can even message me that way. Or if you want to have more of a dialogue conversation, you can always email me. You can shoot me an email. I'm always checking my work email, that is. But Carlos, Carlos at mygrace. That's mygrace.org. Carlos at mygrace.org. Hit me up via email. Or again, like I said, at Carlito254 on IG, on Instagram. I love to dialogue with you.
Yeah, man, I think it's a great way to summarize this. Man, you always, we'll leave this on a funny note.
Yeah.
When working at Grace, I always noticed that between you and even Emmanuel and you guys always seem to not love to, but at least while everyone else avoided conversations with people who may not be easy to have conversations with.
Right.
You guys always seem to be able to have those. And so
yes. I love conversing with and talking with and just attempting to make a connection with people who may just have a different personality or a bit more difficult personality to deal with. And
it's an art form.
It's an art. It is very much an art form that not everybody can engage in, but I like it. I agree with you. I think my whole family is just kind of that way. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's our personalities or our family dynamic. It's just
there's a love there.
Yeah. It's just it's easy for us to connect with people that other people can't connect with, or find it hard to connect with. And for me, I just try to find a common ground. And what helps is to find find something that's funny. It's a little bit of humor there. And if I can get somebody laughing, I can make anybody my friend.
Oh, that's a great way to end it,
man.
sir. Thank you again so much for taking the time out here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love you, brother. I appreciate you. And guys, we'll be right back with the rest of the show. All right, everybody. We are back. Thank you to Carlos for that interview. We appreciate him and his time and his great perspectives.
His many efforts.
Many efforts?
Yeah. It took effort to be here.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he had to drive here.
At least a little bit. He doesn't live like super far, but
no,
still.
All right. Well, moving along, we have some fan questions that we have. So, wait, we have a fan question button.
We do.
No, that's not it.
Bro, you're screwing up the buttons.
Oh, here it is. Yeah. All right. Chris, you start.
All right. So this first question actually comes from my lovely wife, Janelle. And she asked, what's your favorite scented candle? And I've got to be honest with you, man. As many scented candles as she has bought, I have no idea.
Jessica has this one that, like, I don't like strong scents, period. Like, I don't even like cologne that much. Like, I don't like it. I don't want to be smelling anything for long periods amount of time. However, Jessica bought this candle. It's like fall bourbon. Like, it's got like this fall smell to it, and it's got bourbon scent to it.
Right.
And it's just enough to where it's like, if it's on for just a few minutes and I can smell it in the room for a little bit and it fades away, it's pretty nice.
So here's my thing. I don't like food scented candles. Because if I walk into my house and it smells like fresh baked cookies and there's no fresh baked cookies, I'm going to be mad. But we go to, it's not Bed Bath Beyond. It's the other one. Bath.
Oh,
Bath bed. No, bath, bath bod.
it's the one that it's the one that
Bath and Body Works. Okay, sorry, that took a second. We go to Bath and Body Works a lot.
I love to see how your brain got there.
I had to like follow the trail. We go to Bath and Body Works a lot, and we buy candles as much as we physically can.
Okay.
So one that I tried recently was like a lavender blueberry or lavender blackberry candle, and it was really nice.
Okay.
I also really like tropical smells, like the mango and oceanside breeze or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
They always give them weird names.
Right, of course.
And then there was one that she got that was like an apple pie something or other. It was like a fall scent, and that was just really nice. I always got upset because I wanted apple pie, but, you know, it's worth it because it does smell really nice.
Yeah.
Finding a favorite, though, is really hard to do because I've tried so many candles.
I don't think I've ever thought about my favorite candle scent, so that's the only one that came to mind, so I guess that's my favorite.
It would definitely take me a minute to figure out which one was my favorite. Even if you had like all of them lined up in front of me, I couldn't just be like, that one's my favorite, because it all depends on your mood, you know?
Can you imagine, like, you know how like Rhett and League, they have those episodes where they'll like taste every single like Monster energy drinks. Like they had an episode about that where they taste every single one. Can you imagine that for like candles though?
Bro, that would get expensive as hell because those candles are like $25 a pop.
I know.
On sale, they're maybe 12. That's still like 1,000 candles at $12 a pop. That's so much money. Oh my god.
Maybe you have to have like this special contraption to where it's like has like this little I don't know what you call it, like this little tube where you have to put it in your nose so you don't like mix up the smells or anything.
Smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-vision.
Like in Futurama.
Right.
That would be awesome. No, my favorite thing about candles, though, truthfully, is my daughter, Ellie. Her reaction to candles anytime she sees one is she wants to smell it. So, like, I'll hold it up to her nose. But she hasn't quite grasped the sound of an S yet.
Oh.
They always sound like Fs. So she goes, a smell?
Aww.
And it is really cute. You want to smell it, baby? A smell?
That's
of course. So, I don't know. Thank you for that question, Janelle.
Yes.
Who's next?
All right. So my lovely wife asked.
My wife.
She asked, what was that? What would you name your boat if you had one?
Right off the top. Not a pun, but I would spell it with a K so that it is a pun. Yeah, see that one? Shark Slayer, depending on the type of boat.
Okay.
Or Hickory Dickory. And I would only park it on one side of the dock so that it says Hickory Dickory Dock. Like Hickory Dickory, and then you've got the actual dock right there.
Yeah.
Because I'm clever. I've thought about buying a boat recently, so
really?
that's why these three names are already in my head. I'm sure there are others that I could find. One of my favorite boat names is Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah, those from that thing that happened, right?
Yeah, the online, like, we just got this massive shipping container. You guys get to name it.
Right.
And everybody's like, Bodie McBoatface. And they're like, we're not doing that. Stop. But that's the name that won. So
is this a democracy or not?
You said we get to vote. This is what we voted. And that is why public opinion should not be taken into account during votes.
I never really thought about this. A few that come to mind. This is a boat. I mean, yeah, simple.
Plain and simple.
Like, and the period has to be there. Like, it's just this
With
is
the
a boat.
period.
Yeah, with the period.
It's factual for sure.
A boat face.
Ooh, I like that one. A boat face.
And I'm trying to think. I don't know. The captain, maybe, just out of respect to the captain from How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, he is a total douche in the new one.
Oh yeah. I only seen him like for a clip, so don't reveal anything to me. I'm only caught up to like episode 6 or something.
Okay, fair enough. Well, yep, there you go.
There you go. All right, boat names. I dig.
All right. So that's what we would name our boat.
That is what we name
if
our
we
boat.
had 3 or 4 boats apiece.
I think a boat face. I think that's the one.
A boat face is the one you like.
I think so.
I think I like not a pun because with the K,
Yeah.
you know, like the speed of a boat.
Right.
I think I like that one.
By the way, I don't know if this is true or not, but I learned it from the internet. But I learned where the term knots come from, like as a measurement of speed.
Go on.
Basically, they had a rope that they would have a weight at the end of it, but they would tie knots at every such increment of rope, and depending on how fast the boat was going, they would feel the knots that go past their hands.
Oh,
and
like
that's so it's like literal knots.
It went 10 knots past my hand in like 30 seconds. So
Right.
it's going 10 knots. I like that.
So I don't know if it's true or not, but it makes sense.
It's odd, but yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, how else back in the day are you going to measure that?
True. Very true. Okay. I guess it's like the Roman Legion thing where they did the, like, how many digits on each finger you have.
Right.
And that's how they got up to like 144 or whatever it was, because you like each finger and then you put it down and then you do the digits on everything else and then you put a second finger down.
Right.
That's really cool how they figure out measuring stuff like that.
Okay, I'm going to look it up right now. Here we go.
But
Okay.
I'll tell you what, Americans will use anything but the metric system.
Okay, here it is. Here's another thing from the internet. The term knot dates from the 17th century when sailors measured the speed of their ships using a device called a common log. It was a rope with knots at regular intervals. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. You learn something every day. It's just a literal
We should have
knot.
put that in our things I learned from the internet segment.
Oh yeah. Well,
It's too late now.
Too late now.
All right, moving on. What's our next question?
All right. Tiara asked, "What celebrities do you think are in the Illuminati?" I think it's not the ones you would suspect. I think, if anything, that Taika Waititi has taught us, it's that it's always the characters that you never think of.
Yeah.
I think it would be people like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of people that I don't think of.
Christoph Waltz.
Oh, yeah.
That man is 100% in
Oh,
the
he's the
Illuminati.
leader. He is the leader. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's a
100%.
bingo.
100% he's in the Illuminati. A lot of people say Beyonce and Jay-Z.
No,
I don't think so.
They're too A-list. I think you got to think of people like
B and C list celebrities. Like
Yeah.
people that are like behind the scenes but still kind of reaping the benefits.
right.
People that if you found out they had a bunch of money, you'd be like, I guess that makes sense. But
Uh-huh.
like you're not like looking into them.
Yeah.
Yeah, those kind of people.
Mm.
Also Christoph Waltz.
Tobey Maguire.
Do you think Tobey Maguire's in the Illuminati?
I think so.
Is that why he's your least favorite Spider-Man?
Yeah. There you go. That's it.
You just don't trust him.
just don't
That's what
trust
it is. Ooh.
Maybe that's why he's been like not giving any. I mean, he's a bad actor too, but it's like not giving any roles just because they do the Illuminati.
I think, and hear me out, I know we just said not like super A-list celebrities, but I think Leo is in the Illuminati.
No, I think it's too on the nose for him.
It's not. That's the thing. You would think so because you would think so. They want you to not think that. I think Leo DiCaprio is in the Illuminati, and that's why it took so long for him to get his Oscar.
Oh man, I don't
Because, you know, if he's winning awards all the time and if he's starring in all these movies and everything, but notice like the worse, the more time goes on, the worse his movies have gotten,
think so.
in my
Right,
opinion.
right.
So now that he's on the dive, he can win Oscars. So he just wins an Oscar for The Revenant. That's not even his best film.
I know. All right.
So he
kinda makes
just
sense.
happens to win it. Let's see, who else? One more. Oh, you know who I think it is?
Who do you think it is?
Pete Davidson.
Oh my god. I mean,
You're gonna look at that man, look him in the face, and tell me that he can pull Ariana Grande and Kim K.
is it the power he holds?
It has to be. It has to be the power.
Oh my gosh.
There's
Yeah.
no way in hell that man has that much pull for those types of women. And he's on SNL,
Yeah.
and he's a writer for God knows how many things,
Yeah.
making all that money, and still lives in Staten Island, by the way,
Hmm.
with his mom. He still lives with his mom, making. And look, no shade.
Yeah.
Like,
He's a wild person.
his life is just crazy
Yeah.
out there. I want to know what's going on behind the scenes in his life.
Right.
He has to be Illuminati. That's all I'm saying.
Have you've seen? No, you haven't watched What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show.
Not the TV show, no.
You need to.
I know I need to. It's also on my list. Shut up, Tim. I'm the one that showed you the movie.
I know, and now you're slacking. But there's an episode where they have like this meeting of the vampires,
Right.
and like all these random like side like celebrities that you would never think of, but then of course Taika's there. But
Yeah.
that's what made me think about it. Like it's got to be these random actors that who would not like be the first person in your mind. But anyways,
Nicolas Cage.
oh 1000%. Oh yeah, him and who else? Yeah, he would be a leader in there. I could see that. Anyways, moving on. We had some extra time today, and so we are doing one last segment for you all, and that is
Things I learned from the internet.
give it to us, Chris.
All right. So there's a motorcycle stunt in the James Bond movie No Time to Die.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
And it took 8,400 gallons of Coca-Cola being poured onto the street of Italy to make that stunt possible. And this is not like just 8,400 gallons of Coca-Cola just so that it looks like the street is wet. This is actually like they poured it and they had to let it dry a little bit
So it could
because
be sticky?
Coca-Cola is a very sticky soda. And there's no way they could have done that stunt on that street without having some kind of extra grip at it.
Right. You got to think, like, they must have had to clean it off, too, though, right? Like, you can't, I mean, I guess
Oh,
rain
for
could
sure.
do it, but
Between buying the Cokes, paying people to do it, waiting for it to dry, shutting down the street, and then cleaning it up, $70,000 for that one stunt.
wow.
That's how much it costs, $70K.
That's incredible. Is there,
The amount of money they spend on movies.
you would think, like, did they pick, like, name brand Coca-Cola, or did they go with, like, an off-brand?
I'm hoping it was like RC. Just that's the only way RC Cola stays in business. They sell their sodas to movies for sticky scenes. That's how they're doing it.
Who buys this?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Nobody. That's how they're staying in business. They're the movie scene cola. That's it.
Can you imagine, like, are there, like, even other, like, what other, there's got to be stickier things out there. Like,
Not stickier than RC Cola, that's for sure. Coca-Cola's like, we need to make our soda taste better. Pepsi's like, we need to add more variety to our sodas. RC Cola, we need it stickier. It's got to be stickier.
to bring this full circle, do you think they use some of the slime from those hagfish?
Nope, I don't think they use that at all because that's gross, and I hate it. I don't even
I brought it
I
full
never
circle.
want to think about
I'm
that
just
again.
proud of myself for bringing
I
that full
never
circle.
want to
That's
think
all.
about that again.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The images I've seen will never leave my mind.
You guys got to look at those images. They're
Please
great.
don't. Save yourselves the trouble. Don't do it.
Okay. But speaking of, though, like, are there stickier sodas out there? I'm trying to think. Because when I was working at the movie theater, we would have to, like, put in the syrups for the fountain drinks.
Right.
And I remember, like, some were just stickier than others. I remember Sprite being super sticky.
Which is weird. You would think the darker sodas would be super
Oh,
sticky
Yeah.
because they have like the extra dyes and
Mm-hmm.
like it's just thicker.
Right.
But I don't know. Like, do you think Fanta would be sticky enough?
They use real sugar. Is sugar slippery?
I think
Or sticky?
sugar would be sticky if it's heated, but I don't know what it does after that.
We need Hank Green again.
Hank Green,
We need you.
help us. Somebody tag Hank Green in this podcast.
Is sugar sticky or not? Oh, I guess it's sticky, but is it
Would it be sticky enough if it's real sugar, or would like aspartame be
Right.
stickier?
that's the burning question.
Was it Coke or was it Diet Coke?
Ah.
Or
Yeah.
well, I guess we know it wasn't Coke because RC Cola is working their hardest. So was it RC Cola or Diet RC Cola?
What is the least known Coke out there?
No,
that's like that would be the answer to that.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that I know less than RC, like other than like the Sam's Choice, and
Right.
The
the
Great
Mr.
Value,
Mr. Pibb.
Mr. Pibb.
Dr. Pepper's pretty sticky.
Do you think they just use Coca-Cola because they were in Italy? Because
I
that's
don't
like a real big thing there.
Maybe it was just convenient.
Yeah. Who knows?
Who knows?
Fun things that we learned from the internet, though.
Yeah, very nice. Wow, that was extraordinarily loud.
I meant to like drum, but it didn't. My ring hit the thing. I'm
Man,
sorry.
Take it easy.
Don't tell me what to do, Tim.
Be chill.
Okay.
All right. Guys, that is the end of our show. Chris, any final thoughts for today?
Final thoughts. Hagfish are gross. Nick Cage is definitely in the Illuminati.
Yeah.
I think we should go buy a boat.
Yes. What would we, like, if it was a company boat, what would we name it?
Oh.
Maybe that's a question for you, the listener.
The Always More Bobcast.
Bobcast?
Yeah, like the fishing bobbers. And we would put like a fishing rod with the string going across to make the teeth. Like the perfect cast.
Look at you.
These are right off the dome, man.
Very nice.
I got puns for days. All
right, guys, this is for you, though.
Day.
If you can come up with a better name for a boat than Chris did, please let us know. Because
we're probably going to buy a company boat at one point in time.
Even if it's just like a rowboat, just to have it.
Or just like a toy boat that we can paint.
Oh, there you go.
Because with our budget, that's all we can afford.
We'll go to the local swim park and we'll let it go down the lazy river.
If we're lucky, we'll find a remote control boat on Facebook Marketplace or something. Somebody's like, $10, you can have it. And then we'll have to put personal money into it because we still don't have money. Podcasters need money, guys. Help us out.
Oh, my gosh. All right, guys. Well, on that note, we're closing out. Thank you again to Carlos for spending the time with us. And
Thanks, Carlos.
Thank you so much. You are amazing, sir. We love you. And thank you all again for listening to our podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at AlwaysMorePod. Chris, where can we find you on the internet?
I am on Instagram at Captain_CT Ford. I am on TikTok as at Christopher.Lionheart.
Yeah, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Timothy Lichty, and on TikTok at Tim Lichty. It's spelled Liechty. And thank you again for listening and for being a part of the conversation. And remember, there's always more than this. Bye, everybody.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Always More podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share, like, and rate on whatever your platform of preference is. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Always More Pod. If you'd like to submit a question, you can ask us on any of our social media platforms, or you can leave us a voicemail at 254-218-4042. If you'd like to feed into our caffeine addiction as well as support the podcast financially, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/alwaysmorepod. For further information and to contact us, you can email us at alwaysmorepodcast@gmail.com.